All right, we have done numbers 1 and 2 on the Unit 8 Quick Quiz 1. Let's move on to number 3. Again, if you took a little break right there, we're on page 335 in our workbook, and we are on number 3. So number 3 says, use a formula to write an equation and solve the problem. So we're looking for a formula with an equation and solve it. Number 3, Grayson bought a rectangular wastebasket that is 1.5 feet long, 3/4 feet wide, so they've already given me the length, 3/4 feet wide, remember using the same colors as above, so the width was green, and 2 feet high. Find the volume of the basket. You can draw this shape out if you would like. In this situation, I'm not going to just because they already gave me all the measurements and I can multiply because volume is nice. It doesn't bite. Just do length times width times height. Remember though, they want the equation. So I'll just go ahead and write it right here. The volume was length, 1.5 feet, times width, 3/4 feet, or foot I should say, and times the height, 2 feet. Then they want me to solve it. This is going to be a lot more difficult with the calculations because of what? Fractions. It's going to be a little more difficult. So I can choose to do this however I want. In this situation, I might not do the two fractions right now multiplied by each other, or I could do the two fractions right now to get it out of the way. That might be the best thing to do. Yep, let's do that. Let's do the hard stuff first. So I'm going to put a caret here. That's what I'm working on. So I'm going to come over here on the side. In order to do 1.5 times 3/4, you need to recall your fraction knowledge for how you multiply mixed numbers. Remember this little song we would sing? Multiply then add. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3 over 2. How did you know it was over 2? You should be singing, because the denominator is stubborn and it stays. Yes, it does. You're welcome for that. Makes you feel like you're just right back in class, huh? Okay, do I need to do anything to change this 3/4? No, because it's just a fraction. It wasn't a mixed number. So remember, this is not dividing. I don't flip or do anything like that. I just change that into an improper fraction. And now I can multiply straight across. Some of you know you can look for relationships first, but if I were to extend that bar right now, there's nothing on top and bottom that can be simplified. So I'll just go ahead right now and multiply straight across. 3 times 3 is 9. Be careful. Don't say 6 on that. 3 plus 3 is 6, but not 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 4 is 8. And then you know that you need to fix 9/8, right? Hopefully you do. However, before you fix it, I would look at where you're at in the problem and decide, should I fix it now or should I fix it later? So remember, I've only times these two together, and I got 9/8. And now I have to times it by 2. So I wouldn't fix this yet because you're going to have to just flip it back in order to multiply it. So let's just go ahead and take our 9/8. I'm going to move it right here. And we're going to times it by 2. Remember, when you times something by just a whole number and you're dealing with fractions, you can throw 1 underneath it, and it is the same thing. That's going to help me be able to multiply this pretty quickly. So if I'm doing this, I actually would extend the bar in this situation and look for relationships because I can see they and the 2 have a relationship. So I can divide both 8 and 2 by 2. When I do 2 divided by 2, I get 1. When I do 8 divided by 2, I get 4. So now I've just simplified it first instead of having to do a bunch of that at the end. So again, now I multiply straight across. I've got some weird numbers. I have a 9 and 1 on top. That makes 9. And then I have a 4 times 1 on bottom, and that makes 4. So I've multiplied all my numbers together now, and I got 9/4. Remember, you can't leave it like that as your final answer. So you have to fix that. And in order to fix that, I'm just going to write fix. You should too. You need to ask yourself, how many times will the denominator go into the numerator without going over? So 4 goes into 9 2 times. And when I took 4 2 times, it was like taking away 8 pieces, or 8/4, right? 9/4 minus 8/4 is 1/4. So that is my final answer, as I've multiplied everything together. So I come over here. Volume is nice, it doesn't bite. Just do length times width times height. And my final answer is 2 1/4 feet cubed because it's my answer to volume. All right, number 4. A sign is 4.5 feet wide. Here's our width. And 5.5 feet, I'll read that again. 4.5 feet wide and 5.25 feet long. So they gave me a length on this one. Let's find out what we're looking for because I don't know the height. Find the area. They're not looking for volume. Be careful when you read a story problem. Find the area of the surface of the sign. Well, area is even easier than volume because area is just length times width. So let's remember they wanted a formula with the equation. So area equals length times width. Length in this situation is 5.25 foot. The width, 4.5 feet. And now I need to find out what that equals. Remember, it's just area. It's 2 dimensions, so it'll be feet squared at the end. If you want, you can go ahead and put that, and we'll find what the final answer really is. 5.25 times 4.5. This is what you're doing. Remember, they're mixed numbers, so we're going to do that little multiply, then add. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 is 21 over 4. How did you know it was over 4? You should be singing. Because the denominator is stubborn and it stays. Multiply, remember that's the same symbol. Do it again. You cannot leave it like a mixed number. You can change it to improper. Multiply, then add. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9 over 2. How did you know it was over 2? I hope everybody at your house is hearing you sing. Because the denominator is stubborn and it stays. All right, so I have 21/4 and 9/2. I'm going to try and look for relationships before I multiply those, but I don't see any that can simplify. First, top and bottom, nope. So I'm just going to go. 21 times 9, no idea. But I know 4 times 2 is 8. So now I have to do the work for 21 times 9. Think they want you to leave it like that? 189/8? Nope. You're going to have to fix that. Which means I don't know how many times 8 goes into 189. So it means you're going to be using some division skills. So as you can see, all of these problems have built upon previous knowledge that you've learned. You know what the formula for area was. You know how to multiply fractions. You should know how to look for relationships first. You should know how to throw a 1 underneath a whole number. So they're just making sure that you still remember all the things we learned. So this problem, they're also testing for division. Do you know how to do 189 divided by 8? When you do that, remember the dividend is like this. 189 divided by 8 looks like this. And then you solve that division problem. 8 can't go into 1, but it will go into 18. How many times does 8 go into 18? Twice. That would be 16. And then you're going to have 29, so you keep going. 8 goes into 29 3 times, 24. And I have 5 left over. We know how to drop down zeros and make decimals and just put a little r, but in this case, because we're dealing with area, with fractions, you need to change that into a fraction. So again, you have 5 left over. The denominator is 8, like it was up here, because it's stubborn and it stays. So the answer is 23 5/8. So I come over here, 23 5/8, and I've already labeled it feet squared. Not too bad. All right, on number 5, each cube in the rectangular prism is 1 cubic centimeter. Okay, each cube is 1. So that means this is 1, 2, 3. Remember, we're going to quickly label it because it wants you to find the number of cubes and the volume. Remember, the number of cubes is the same as the volume, so don't be confused by that. So let's just find our own measurements. There's the length. It's 3 from left and right. How far is the width? 1, 2. It's 2. Remember, I'm using the same colors. And then the height is how tall my shape is. And that would be 1, 2, 3. My question for you is this a perfect cube? The answer is no. If it was a perfect cube, all of these numbers would be the same, 3, 3, and 3. But it's not a perfect cube. The length is 3. The height is 3, but the width was 2. So it's not a perfect cube. but that's okay. They're telling me that each little tiny cube in there is a cube, and that's correct. So now I just find the number of cubes and the volume. So because they've listed it separately, I would do it like this. The number of cubes equals blank, and the volume equals this. That's how I would set that up. So again, counting up the number of cubes is easy. You just do the same thing as volume. Length times width times height. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. So there's 18 cubes in there. But if you're gonna, that looks like a scary 8. Maybe try that. If you're going to find the volume, then why don't you just do the formula. 3 times 2 times 3 equals 18. Now we have to give it a label, but they haven't told us, sorry, they haven't told us what the measurements are. They've just said they're 1 cubic centimeter. Oh, I guess they have labeled it for us. Centimeters. So this would be centimeters cubed. That would be the volume. Maybe we could put little cms by these so that we remember. Okay, so we've just done all of the problems, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this page 335. What I want you to do now, it's your assignment, is to flip the paper over and to complete page 336 on your own at home. It's just a quick fluency check where they're checking multiplication. It doesn't need to be timed or anything, but you do need to complete all of them, 1 through 15. You can see as you get going, it gets more complicated. The hardest ones are down here, 13, 14, 15, because they're double by double. Make sure that you place a 0 for place value and that you don't forget how to multiply. Some of these with zeros at the end, come on, you can do this really quickly if you use your brain. Otherwise, you should be fine. So you're going to complete page 336 on your own, and then you're going to log into Think Central and complete the Unit 8 review on there. I think that one's pretty short. It has like maybe 4 or 5 questions, but one of the questions is pretty difficult, so make sure you have scratch paper and pencil and that you go slowly and take your time. Good luck on that. So again, complete page 336. Leave it in your workbook. Leave both, leave this whole page in your workbook, but complete 336 on your own, and then log on to Think Central and complete the Unit 8 review. Have a good rest of your day.